What's up, everybody? Some of you guys know me as Calculations of. I am a content creator. I'm a musician, producer, DJ. Really switched heavily on the content creator side, but I just wanted to talk to you guys about somewhat of my journey, my testimony, and it basically focuses on my sobriety and how I got sober. So, for some of you, like I mentioned, I had an extensive music career. I was a DJ for some hip hop violinists. I produced music myself and I produced music for them and a couple of other people. So I kind of had that life of I am a musician. You know, I'm doing this cool stuff and traveling all over the place. But with that, I had my own struggles. My own struggles were dealing with certain substances. I mean, pretty much anything you can name and think of, I probably tried, except for the ugly drugs, is what I call it, drugs that make you ugly. But yeah, that was always a struggle for myself. So most recently, I can tell you how I stopped because I'm almost coming up to a year. I think I'm at 320 something days right now. So how I stopped, and this is the whole story. I basically had a gig in my hometown, went there, thought it was going to be a walk in the park. Yeah, man, I haven't done gigs in years, so everyone was just hype and everything just went wrong at the gig. I didn't even perform at the gig. I was a little overzealous. Pride, ego, that kind of got in the way, and it just didn't work out well. So after that, we go out. We go out, drinks, all this stuff. It was fun. It was fun to go back in the hometown, see some people I didn't see. I got way too lit. And basically, towards the end of the night, I just kind of had a moment where I kind of broke down and I was like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. This is not sustainable for my life. Can't do this. So one of my musicians was performing at a church the very next day. So, while hungover, kind of go to this church, amazing message. And I went to go speak to my buddy that was playing guitar afterwards, and I kind of broke down and I was like, I can't live like this anymore. I can't live this life. I need to change. And one of the things he told me was, you need to find a good church community. So I go back and my buddy's wife basically sent me a list of churches, and I kind of had a moment where I was sitting in my apartment and was like, I need to change my life over, And I looked up the sinner's prayer, and I'm like, I've heard this before a million times. I'm going to say the sinner's prayer. So I say the sinner's prayer. I'm the biggest skeptic too. I said the sinner's prayer. I'm like, all right. And I audibly hear my name being called. And I'm like sitting here like, what's happening? Why is this happening? Like, I'm thinking that someone broke into my apartment. I'm like, I didn't take anything. So I know I'm not going crazy. It was just a wild experience. And, I just kind of felt kind of at peace. And I haven't felt at peace like that in a long time. So, Sunday rolls around. I'm looking at different churches. The church I really wanted to go to was at 4:30 at night. And I'm like, 4:30? Yeah, right. It's going to take a lot for me to even go to church, and you're telling me that I have to go to church at 4:30? That doesn't make any sense. So I ended up eating, meaning, money, mowing the next couple of churches, and then I landed on this one church in Denver called Restoration Church, RST Church, if you want to look it up on YouTube. So I'm like, all right, going to church. And, I've been to so many different churches all across this country when I was doing music and touring. So it wasn't that big of a deal for me to go to church, but it was on my own volition and I wasn't getting paid. So it was a big deal for me. So I walk in the church and I talk to this greeter and I tell him, like, this is the first time I'm actually going to church on my own. And he was like, look, I hope you have a good time. If you don't, I can give you a list of churches that you might like. I'm just glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you made the decision to come back. And I was like, man, you ain't really selling this church, my boy, like that well. You're not selling this. So the service starts. Praise and worship was great. It was, in my opinion, the typical Hillsong-y elevation type stuff. I'm like, cool, been through that. Messages, heard the message, and I have my own issues with church and different things, and one of them was baptisms. But the pastor said all three things that I looked for in a church. He was like, we teach the Bible here. we make disciples, we baptize. And I was like, they're really about this life here, huh? They really are. So the service goes by, and praise and worship, comes back. And one thing about praise and worship music, I never really connected to it. Never really was that guy. I'm like, why don't you play some bangers? Why don't I hear praise and worship with the Zaytoven beat? But it was a song called "This Is How I Fight My Battles," I think by Michael W. Smith, and I just start tearing up, crazy. Like the words and the lyrics, everything. It was a feeling I've never felt before. I just couldn't stop crying uncontrollably. I felt at peace. I wasn't angry or sad or anything, but I just couldn't stop crying for some reason. I just couldn't. I'm still to this day, like, I know it was the Holy Spirit that was, moving, but I couldn't stop crying. And I'm thinking, okay, this is a mostly white church. I'm the one black dude here. I gotta go. So when it's time to leave, I start running. I'm like getting through people, juking and jiving. All right, I'm out of the church. And a guy, I remember walking past the pastor that preached, and I remember shaking his hand, and he kind of grabbed my hand and gave me this look, and then I like beelined it, and I'm outside, wiping my eyes and stuff, and then this dude talks to me. He's like, "Yo, man, like, are you all right?" And then like I start trying to describe to him what's happening. I start tearing up, and I was like, he's like, "How do you feel? Like, do you feel bad or sad or whatever?" I was like, "Nah, I just feel at peace. I haven't felt a peace like this, a heaviness like in a while." And I start tearing up with him, and then he was like, "That was the Holy Spirit, brother." He was like, "Have you accepted Jesus into your heart?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have." And he starts talking to me even more, and I was like, "I've never been baptized and all this stuff." And he was just like, "Man, I'm telling you, that was the Holy Spirit that happened, and I'll baptize you right now." And I'm like, "Whoa, wait a second there." In my head, I was like, all right. I told myself, if this guy comes back, if I come back next week, or if someone calls me within the week, because I got a couple people's numbers and things, and I will get baptized. And what do you know? I get a call on Wednesday, I believe, and it was like, "I just wanted to follow up with you to get you baptized." And he told me about this other pastor that could baptize me. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go get baptized. Turns out the guy that stopped me and I was speaking to was the founding pastor of this church, and he was preaching the Sunday that I was supposed to get baptized. So I was like, all right. And the message was incredible. And it came to me getting baptized. And right before I got baptized, he comes up and was like, "This pastor was going to baptize you, but I want to baptize you." So this is all going to make sense, by the way, about the sobriety stuff. So I get baptized. Incredible experience. I'm glad that I was able to, change my life around and confess, I'm going to try to be Christ-like. This is my public declaration. Like, this is what's happening. So with that, when it comes to my sobriety, I just had no urge. Even now, like I live in Denver, Colorado, one of the legal states for a lot of different things. And I just don't feel that urge anymore. It's so crazy. I don't feel the urge. I've done a couple other things with that. I think having a relationship with God, one, helped. Accountability helped as well too. And then just finding an activity and thing that I could focus on that could help. And I got involved with my church. I'm involved with my youth ministry. Started reading my Bible more. I started making music again. And then I was working a job that was very intensive, and I'm thankful for that job now till to this day. I didn't leave really on good terms, the owner and stuff, but I appreciate every aspect of that job because it led me to my life and where I'm at now. And I eventually went back to social media, but I believe that you can do all the different things to get sober. But I think one of the biggest things that you can do that can help is to have a relationship with God. I've tried to stop and start so many different times, and it just never really held. And I realized for me, that is something that helped. I think that if you're having issues with addiction and substances, go to AA, go to NA, tell your friends, tell your family, all that. It definitely helps. Find an activity that you can do, all of the above. But I believe that for myself, And for others, I think that you should try to strengthen your relationship with God and get in the Word. So I'll probably be having a series where I'll be talking about all the other things that help me, because, sometimes people just don't want to hear, oh, believe in God. But, there are other things that helped me, and I will be sharing them with you guys. And I'll be sharing my music again because it's been a while. But anyways, that's kind of my story. I wanted to share it with you guys this weekend. And I think I needed this to say all these things because it could help someone out there. I don't know who you are watching, but I believe that this could help you. So please, if you enjoyed hearing what you heard, I'm going to do the typical YouTube thing. Like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel. But anyways, I'm Calculations Of, and that was my story.